Kelsey, if you can let us go live, please. We're ready.
Well, good morning. The meeting of the Legislative Council of the University of Interscholastic League is now in official session. For the record, it's approximately 11 a.m. on Wednesday, June 17th, 2020, in accordance with the waiver to certain provisions of the Texas Open Meetings Act issued by Governor Greg Abbott on March 16, 2020, and in the interest of avoiding large gatherings and promoting social distancing during this pandemic. This meeting is being held via teleconference and streaming live. My name is Curtis Rhodes. I'm the superintendent of schools at Needville Independent School District. Council members, I will now ask Susan Doherty, the UIL executive assistant, to call the roll. Please respond if you're here.
Ryder
Susan?
Warren.
Here.
Marty Crawford.
Here.
Mark Henry.
Here.
Eric Wright.
Here.
Keith Bryant.
Here.
Kevin Worthy.
Here.
Greg Poole.
Here.
Roland Hernandez.
Here.
Bobby Azam.
Here.
Keith Murphy.
Here.
Benny Swallow. I know he's having trouble getting in. Curtis Rhodes.
Here.
Jim Waller. Jason McCullough. Kevin Nowak.
Here.
Joanne Bluda.
Here.
Jim McClellan.
Here.
Todd Morrison.
Here.
Richard Kilgore.
Here.
Todd Pavelic. Wayne Henderson. Aaron Hood.
Here.
Cliff Gilmore. Cody Moray.
Here.
Robin Ryan.
Here.
Susan Bone.
Here.
James Brewer.
Here.
Latanya Goffney.
Here.
Thomas Randall.
Here.
Walter Jackson. Steve Flores.
Here.
Arturo Cavazos. Mr. Chair, that completes the roll.
Thank you. At this time, I certify that a quorum of the Legislative Council is present. Unless there's an objection from the committee members, this meeting will be conducted in accordance with the 2019-20 Constitution and Contest Rules. Hearing no objections, it is so ordered. Next, we'll do adoption of the agenda. Unless there's an objection from the committee members, the agenda for the business meeting shall be as set out in the posted agenda, unless otherwise announced by the chair. Hearing no objection, the agenda is officially adopted. Approval of the minutes. Council members, you have received an electronic copy of the October 20th, 21st, and May 1st, 2020 meeting minutes. I'm going to approve all these in one motion. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
James Brewer makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Kevin Nowak. Any discussion? Okay, council members, to vote, there's a box at the bottom of your screen. If you're on the computer, participants, those are yes, no. If you can't figure that out, wave or let Susan see your hand or respond in. Mr. Waller, I know you're on the telephone. All right. I'll give staff time to tally the vote.
Mr. Chair, the vote passed.
Thank you, Susan. Vote passes unanimous. The chair now recognizes Dr. Bryda to discuss old business.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me first say welcome to our new committee members. In 6A, Dr. Ryder Warren from Northwest ISD is representing Region 1, and Dr. Marty Crawford from Tyler ISD will be representing 6A Region 2. So welcome to those two gentlemen. Representing Conference 2A Region 4, Todd Pavelic. We welcome those three new council members. Also, being reelected and have been previously on the council in 5A Region 4 from Corpus Christi ISD, Roland Hernandez, and in Region 1 4A, Bobby Azam. In 3A Region 4 from Hallettsville, our Vice Chair, Joanne Bluda, and in 1A Region 3 from Perrin Whit, Cliff Gilmore. We also will have Robert Dillard, who was on the call but has no voting privileges today. Robert has been appointed to replace Jim Waller following this meeting in Conference 3A in Region 1. So we welcome Robert as well. Robert's been on our council before. So with that said, thank you all as council members for your time during the last 2 days serving on standing committees and working together with us today to finalize all those plans that have been put before those committees. I also want to take just a moment to say thanks to the support we received from Dr. Leonard Moore and Dr. Jennifer Majan from the University of Texas. They have supported the UIL during this pandemic and given us some latitude not given to all the other units. And we'll be talking about some of those methodologies in a moment, but they have been totally supportive of the efforts of you as a legislative council, and they believe in what you're doing, and they stand willing to serve and support us as we move forward. I want to stop for just a minute. I know I've done this in each committee, but I want to talk just for a moment about our staff, because without them, we wouldn't be here today. Obviously, you've heard from Dr. Susan Elza and Dr. Brad Kent and Dr. David Stevens, and you'll hear more from them in a moment, but I just want to give a shout out to them for their outstanding work during this last 2.5 months. I'm not sure if they're going to introduce their staff, but I just want to give a quick applause to Jessica Walker, who worked with Susan. She did a fantastic job in numerous Zoom meetings, and I know Becca Kentz did the same thing for Dr. Kent, and Elizabeth Sykes with the academic department. Behind the scenes, as Jamie Harrison mentioned earlier, Dr. Cousins, Dr. Jones, two great authors who are willing to spend time reviewing our rules to make sure we're staying aligned properly. Daryl Beasley continues to work with the state executive committee. We've had some cases, but we haven't had any hearings, but he's worked with those who are filing alleged violations of rules. And our tech department has just been fabulous during this time. Challenge our entire staff to work as much as we can to get online with everything. And I know our schools are doing the same thing. We shouldn't be far behind them. Instead, we should be ahead of the curve. A great deal of thanks to Caroline Walls, who has scheduled and hosted many Zoom meetings over the course of the last couple of months, and Arlo Flores, who is a great event coordinator and has done a fabulous job as well. Kim Carmichael, our chief of staff, has worked on our budget with Amy Gilbert, our finance director, and we're really proud of our business department for continuing to operate during this downtime. I would say to you that Susan Doherty has been the link in the chain that has moved this forward. You see her on the screen there. She's busily trying to get others on the line that weren't able to connect. She works, she's just a winner. How else can I say that? I'll say more about her in October, of course, as we will more about all of our staff. But I just want to say thanks to Susan for dealing with all the things she's dealt with over this period of time that we've been out of her office. We're not happy about being out of our office, as you're not happy about being out of your school buildings. But I will say that our staff has worked tremendously behind the scenes to get things moving. We're greatly disappointed in not being able to finish our spring activities as you were. And I know that every one of us would say that it's the most disappointing time we've had during our time at UIL. Dr. Poole mentioned this yesterday. We had a pandemic in 1918, the Spanish flu. We also had World War I going on about that time. The UIL didn't close its doors, it moved forward. But if you have to remember those days, there were only two things going on: track and the academic competition. A little different when we moved into World War II. We still didn't shut down during that time. I'm sure there were some modifications for the playoffs and that sort of thing, but our students were participating. And I think the schools at that time believed that it was important to keep the young people active and participating, because they knew the next thing for them was to enter the war. So I'm proud of our schools for being willing to move forward when the rest of the world shut down. We plan to do that with our state basketball tournament. I don't want to belabor that, but when we closed down on March the 12th, it was with a heavy heart. None of us wanted to do that. We believed it was a right call, just as we believed it was a right call to start the tournament. And just the whole business of this, as you know, has changed on a daily and sometimes an hourly basis. We thought for sure we'd be back in a couple of weeks to finish the basketball tournament, have our state soccer tournament, and finish baseball, softball, and have our state academic meet, our one-act play, our speech and debate competitions. We thought that would happen. But once schools were canceled for the year, that shifted our glance, and we had to move away from that and start thinking about what we could do next. There are no other state association playing during the spring after we did. There are no other professional sports that have regathered to play in America. So we feel confident that we made the right call. It still doesn't feel good. I will tell you that Iowa is the only state playing baseball. They're going to start up, I think, next week. But you have to remember their baseball season their regular season starts in the summer. So there's nothing new for them. So they're starting really a new year. No matter what, we can blame whatever we blame, but COVID-19 threw us for a loop, but it didn't knock us down. And the staff that I just mentioned collectively, along with the Legislative Council, not only those new members, but each of you who have done all they can to support the UIL. And I must mention our past chairpersons, Thomas Randall, who served last year. I went to his school. What great respect the people in Lamarcus Solid ISD have for him. They named a school after him. He served well for us as a Legislative Council chair, and he's a long-standing member of the council. I appreciated his support during this time, and especially during last year. Dr. Greg Poole called me and offered comfort and guidance and wisdom, as he always does. And I know he played on a state championship team. I know what that means. In 1981, playing for Cameron, he knows what this means to not be able to play in a state championship. He knows how heartbreaking it is for those young students and their coaches. His school, Barbers Hill, you see in the background, had state champions in 1971 and 1976. So it's important to his school for us to celebrate state champions. And Dr. Mark Henry called as well to offer guidance and wisdom. And none of them were seeking information. They were just wanting to know that they had our back and they cared. And as serving as the previous chairmans, I can just say every one of them, from all the way back to Rick Reedy and Curtis Colwell and Dr. Mark, Dr. Henry from Mesquite, Dr. Kay Wagner at Richardson, Jim Waller from Idalou, and now Curtis Rhodes. I'm so proud of their support, and we couldn't be in a better position as an organization. I wish everyone had the kind of leadership that you council members give to us through your council chair. And Curtis has been on all the Zoom calls with us, and he's worked alongside us. Sometimes he's done it from his boat or his truck, but he's always been there for us during this time. And I hate that we couldn't do this meeting live, because I know how much it means to our council chair to connect with each of you as council members. And I say this to you because for me, this is about what happens in our activities. We crown champions. And you know what? You can't be a champion unless you prove yourself through tough times Every champion goes through a difficult period during the season. I don't care if it's a one-act play group dealing with some kind of conflict, or if it's the science team dealing with a setback or a loss, or a football team, a volleyball team, whatever it is. There's some point in the season where you meet up with some adversity, and you can't say you're a champion until you dealt with the tough times. And I say this all the time to our staff. When the going is good, I don't need you as much. If everything's running smoothly, that doesn't prove anything to me. It's how you are in the tough times that matter. And you have proved yourself, staff. And I'm thankful that you're part of our team. And you've been a great inspiration to me, as have these superintendents who serve on this council and have your back all the time. Thank you all for being great champions. We don't get to crown you with a gold medal today, but I'll tell you, you've done gold medal work. And just as I claimed Susan Doherty to be a champion, each of you that I've named and those that I haven't named are champions in your own right. I utilized some encouragement also from two of my favorite old guys, Dr. Bailey Marshall and Dr. Bill Farney. Dr. Marshall hired me back in 1992, roughly 29 years ago, to be an assistant athletic director. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I tell you, I'm so blessed that he gave me that chance. And for Dr. Bill Farney, who I worked alongside with for 17 years as his assistant and his associate director and as the director of athletics, he was a great mentor and a friend. Both of those men called me during this time to say, hang in there, this will get better. And I pray that they're right. So the challenges that we've dealt with during this time have been about how we resurrect the spring. We know that didn't happen. And now next, to get the next plan. Our current plans that are being utilized right now were done specifically because of the work of Jamie Harrison. Dr. Harrison has the authority as the event supervisor for all of our events. And I can tell you, I've given him more authority than any person ever in the history of the league. I can tell you that he has the welfare of the league in his hands, and he shares everything that he's planning with me, and our staff working in silos with him have worked to put together great plans. We're experiencing some of those now with the return of our strength and conditioning programs. We have seen a resounding number of support for strength and conditioning, the number of kids that are coming back to schools, the fact that parents want them out of the house, and the fact that students want to come back and they're eager to be back with their coaches. So we think this is a great thing. We're seeing it with our music students, and we're proud of the work that Dr. Harrison's done. He's worked chiefly with the Texas Education Agency and the Commissioner's Office, and with the Governor's Office and the strike force that approves all these things that we have to get approved in order for us to move forward. We continue that quest, and I'll talk more about that when we get to new business, but I want to say thanks to Dr. Harrison for his round-the-clock work. And I know I get texts from him at midnight, early in the morning, and he never turns his phone off. He's working with us all the time, and I'm thankful. Just as each of you superintendents are doing back in your district, trying to find a plan to return to school and a way you can get your schools gathered back up and your students back in place. Had a great conversation with Keith Murphy the other day, one of your council members. Keith was sharing me, he's a superintendent at Melissa, if you didn't know. I'll just say he struck me as a firm believer in public education, and he has me as a fan. I believe in public education and always have. All my career, in 45 years, I've been an advocate for public schools. I'm a product of public schools, and I believe in what they deliver. And we have to be vigilant during these tough times, that we don't get caught up with things that we don't want. We're trying to keep the road smooth for you and try to keep it as uncomplicated as possible. Let's be aware of what's going on around us. Let's be knowledgeable about the things that we're hearing about. And I know you are, and I know you're working extremely in difficult times that we've never seen before. I won't use the word unprecedented. I heard it far too much. But I will tell you that I have great confidence in this council and as you as a superintendent and as with our staff. So I'll stop there and turn it back over to our chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Brydup. And I want to say just at this time, thank you to the UIL for kind of leading us back into session just as a public school system, as superintendent sitting here, allowing these kids to come back together for strength and conditioning in the summers, and the music and everything else is the first taste of us getting prepared and what we're going to have to address come July, August, September, et cetera. But on to new business, as we get to our committee meetings, just to clarify, if there's any questions in voting for any members that just recently got on the call, notice at the bottom of your screen, there's a participant list. If you go to it and there's a yes or no option, if you're on your cell phone, it's *9 to vote aye, or pull up the screen, unmute yourself, and let us be heard. So I'll move first. The chair now will recognize Keith Bryant and Dr. David Stevens for discussion of the academic proposals.
Good morning, members and fellow superintendents. Good to see you all today. My name is Keith Bryant, Superintendent of Lubbock Cooper ISD and the Chair of the Standing Committee on Academics. I would like to begin by thanking the academic committee members: Thomas Randall, Bobby Azam, Kevin Nowak, Jim McClellan, Wayne Henderson, Eric Wright, and Ryder Warren. And I do want to turn it over to Dr. Stevens for a couple of comments, but I do also want to mention how grateful I am to David and his staff. I think Dr. Brydup mentioned yesterday in our meeting that this is the first time in 109 years maybe that we've not had a state academic competition, which is incredible to think of. But this staff, the entire academic staff led by Dr. Stevens has guided us through this process. So Dr. Stevens, I'll turn it over to you for a few moments. Thank you for the job you've done.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. I echo your appreciation to the members of the Academic Standing Committee for their continued work in support of UIL academic activities. And your excellent leadership as the chair of this committee makes our jobs easier, particularly in this distance meeting process. I want to say a special thanks to the academic staff. Each in their own way make serving our teachers and schools the focus of their job, especially during this time where they've continued to find ways to reach our teachers and provide opportunities for students. They're a great team and each have a servant's heart. I'm blessed to get to work with them every day. And lastly, getting through the spring of 2020 would not have been possible without the guidance and leadership we received daily from Dr. Harrison and Dr. Brydup. We look forward to bringing you a full report in October, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens. The Standing Committee of Academics met on June 16, 2020 via teleconference session in accordance with the waiver to certain provisions of the Texas Open Meetings Act issued by Governor Abbott on March 16, 2020. The committee took the following actions during its business meeting. Standing Committee on Academics approved these proposals in concept and recommended them for future consideration in October. First of all, a proposal to combine A+ Science 1 and 2 tests for grades 6 through 8. And secondly, a proposal to add points for top presiding officer in state Congress. The Standing Committee on Academics also authorized the staff to study the following proposal. Proposals to reevaluate the computer applications contest. Then our committee authorized staff to monitor the following proposals. A proposal to add robotics education and competition, the REC, to UIL robotics competition, and proposals to add chess for high school. And then the Standing Committee on Academics denied, rejected, or took no action on the following proposals. Proposal for change in the selection of one-act play adjudicators for area, region, and state. A proposal to adopt a conflict of interest policy and procedures by UIL one-act play and TTAO. A proposal to officially recognize a top technician and top crew team, as in other academic events, at all levels of one-act play contest. And finally, a proposal to adjust the conflict of interest rule for adjudicators of one-act play. And Mr. Chairman, that is our committee report. Be glad to answer questions or anything else we need to do.
Okay, I'll take that as a recommendation. Do I have a second? Susan, did anyone have, I'm going to take
I
that. as
second. Jim Waller seconds.
Jim Waller seconds. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Now, is there any discussion? Hearing none, I now call for a vote. Please enter your vote and hold until the staff has recorded the vote and cleared the responses.
Mr. Chair, the vote passed unanimously.
Thank you. Let the record show that the proposal has passed unanimously with the vote. Thank you, Superintendent Bryant and Dr. Stevens. Next, the chair will recognize Kevin Worthy and Dr. Brad Kent to discuss the music proposals.
Thank you, Chairman Rhodes, and good morning, superintendents. It's great to see everyone this morning. And before I get started, I just want to say thank you for your leadership and everything that you're doing for your districts and your communities and your kids. And so you all are just tremendous leaders, and we thank you for everything that you're doing. My name is Kevin Worthy, Superintendent of Royce City ISD and the Chair of the Standing Committee on Music. I would like to begin by thanking the Music Committee members, Latanya Goffney, Art Cavazos, Roland Hernandez, Benny Swalla, Jason McCullough, Cliff Gilmore, and Todd Pavick. And again, thank you for your leadership and dedication to this committee, and again to the children that you represent. At this time, I would like to recognize Dr. Kent for a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Worthy. I will give a more detailed music report at the October meeting, but I would like to first thank you for your great leadership. Thank the rest of the music committee for your service on behalf of all of the music students in the state of Texas. I would like to thank our music staff. They are just second to none, true winners, as Dr. Bright said. And I also certainly want to thank Dr. Bright and Dr. Harrison and the rest of the UIL staff for their leadership on a consistent basis, especially during this difficult time with COVID-19.
Thank you, Dr. Kent, and I will definitely echo that and just really thank you for your leadership. Brad, you've become a really good friend of mine, and so I thank you for everything that you're doing for music across the state of Texas, but also to your staff. They do a tremendous job, so we appreciate it. Also want to echo what Dr. Bright said. You know, just really in awe of the UIL staff and the commitment that you have to all of us and all our districts. And so on behalf of my district, I just want to say thank you for everything that you're doing. And Dr. Bright, your leadership is second to none, along with Jamie Harrison. I mean, I just can't thank both of you enough for everything that you're doing. So we appreciate it. So moving on June 16, 2020, the Standing Committee on Music met via teleconference session in accordance with the waiver to certain provisions in the Texas Open Meetings Act issued by Governor Abbott on March 16, 2020. The committee took the following actions during its business meeting. First, the Standing Committee on Music approved the following proposals in concept to refer to the full council for consideration in October. Number one, a proposal to add a ranking process to 1A state marching band advancement. And number two, a proposal for mariachi events to add judges, consolidate regions, and allow only groups competing in traditional category to advance to state. Next, the Standing Committee on Music authorized the staff to monitor the following proposals. First, a proposal to increase limits on marching band practices and performances. Second, a proposal to prohibit music adjudicators from conferring until the end of the contest. And last, a proposal to change when a band may begin marching preparation for their contest show. And last, the Standing Committee on Music denied, rejected, or took no action on the following proposals. A proposal to keep school names anonymous at music contest. Chairman, that concludes our report from the Standing Committee on Music, and at this time, I'll take any questions.
Okay, hearing none. Appreciate that, Mr. Worthy, and I will entertain I'll take that as the recommendation, as the motion by the Music Committee, Kevin Worthy. Do I have a second for that?
This is Mark Henry, I second.
Okay, second by Mark Henry at Sci-Fair. Any other discussion? Hearing none, council members, if you'll now place your vote.
Mr. Chair, the vote passed unanimously.
Thank you, Susan. Let the record show that the proposal has passed unanimously with all of the vote. Thank you again, Superintendent Worthy and Dr. Kent. Great work. The chair now recognizes Dr. Greg Poole and Dr. Susan Elza for discussion of the athletic proposals.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A few comments to start. The old timers at Barbers Hill, in regards to Charles's comments about our state championships, we were undefeated and unscored on in 1941, but B classification couldn't win state. So that's still a thorn in the saddle blanket, stickleburr in the saddle blanket, but undefeated and unscored on in 41. And we had a couple of others that when we were really good in B, but I do very much appreciate the kind words. And I want to echo that adversity is a clarifier. And it obviously, with our leadership at UIL, has clarified even stronger the leadership that we have and the manner in which they've dealt with these and yes, unprecedented is an overused word, but it's true, and enhanced our brand. It's amazing. Charles and his staff have taken this great difficulty and actually strengthened the brand. And that is certainly to be commended. But I will get to the order at hand. My name is Greg Poole, Superintendent at Barbers Hill ISD. And I would like to read the following names that do a great job on our committee: Jim Waller, Curtis Rhodes, James Brewer, Robin Ryan, Cody Moray, Susan Bond, and Richard Kilgore. And on June 16th, 2020, the Standing Committee on Athletics met via teleconference session in accordance with the waiver to certain provisions of the Texas Open Meetings Act issued by Governor Abbott on March 16th, 2020. And before I get into what the committee actions were, I believe I'm going to turn this over to Susan Elza for any words that she has.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to the entire athletic committee and especially to Dr. Poole for leading our committee. You know, Dr. Poole, you ride by your own brand, and I admire that. And it's sometimes you got to just kind of sprint to keep up. But the one thing that no one can say about you is that you're so passionate. That they cannot say about you is that you're not passionate. You love athletics, but you also equally love music and academics and the whole UIL as an organization. And your spirit's contagious. I thought I had it bad before I got here, but then when I was able to work with you, it strengthens who we are and what we stand for. We are going to report on our athletic committee and brag on them a little bit more in October, but excuse me, our athletic staff a little more in October. But I said it yesterday. They lead with a coach's heart. Every step they take is to represent coaches and kids and athletic directors, and I love that staff to death. They make me better every day. And as far as Dr. Braddup and Dr. Harrison, I mean, all of y'all are singing their praises, and it's the most worthy praise. These are hard times to lead through, and we need the strength of their leadership and their direction. And they provided that each and every day. So thank you to them. And Dr. Poole, I will turn it back to you.
My mother's deceased, but she would feel a need to clarify when you say I ride for the brand, it means I'm a little bit rebellious. And she would say that there's many times that there's many reasons nobody else is doing something. And so I do take that to heart on trying to not be so rebellious. Okay, but thank you very much for those words, Susan. And it's not hard to be passionate about what we do. I don't know how you couldn't be passionate about the best organization in the nation and how we impact kids and build character every single day and make this great state even better by our actions. So I will continue, Mr. Chair. And first, we have a proposal that amends section 1204M, flat fee schedule and travel reimbursement. This proposal amendment from the UIL Sports Officials Committee adjusts the previous proposal related to sub-varsity basketball fees. The previous proposal included provisions for the fee being based on the number of minutes in a quarter, and this proposal applies for one flat fee structure. It wasn't what was intended, but it ended up somehow incentivizing certain minutes of the quarters based on fees, and that's not what was intended. Additionally, the proposal includes an increase to scrimmage fees for football, volleyball, basketball, soccer, baseball, and softball. And I did commend Andre Walker, and I know many other ADs were involved in our committee meeting yesterday. Andre's the AD at HISD, and I know he was very helpful in helping us identify these ways to make ourselves better. So the Standing Committee on Athletics moves that the Legislative Council pass this amendment to be effective August 1st, 2020, if approved by the Commissioner of Education.
Does that complete your
recommendation? I was waiting for a motion, I think.
Okay. I'll take that as a motion. I'll go ahead and take that as a motion. Dr. Poole, is there a second for this?
Robin Ryan will second.
Robin Ryan seconds. Any discussion? Please register your vote at this time.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is unanimously passed.
Okay, let the record show that the proposal has passed unanimously.
All right, I'll continue, Mr. Chair, and I'll move through as quickly as I can. The Standing Committee on Athletics authorized the staff to study the following proposals: a proposal to create a separate 1A conference in volleyball, softball, and baseball, a proposal to consider a $5 increase for officials for the 2021-22 school year, or to create a long-term plan, a proposal to adjust the junior high athletic start time. The Standing Committee on Athletics authorized the staff to monitor the following proposals: a proposal to modify the requirements to be a volunteer coach, a proposal to add bowling as a sanctioned activity, a proposal to add rugby, a proposal to add lacrosse, and a proposal to add small-sided soccer, and a proposal to add boys volleyball. And I do want to make a quick comment on this. Oftentimes in our meetings in the past, we will reject some proposals, and I'm not implying we would reject any of these, but the committee will note, or the council will note, we did not reject any. And this was on guidance, I think, good guidance from Dr. Brydup, that because of the limited ability to interact with the public, we just chose not to reject anything. So I do want to comment on that because that is a little different than our normal way of doing things. But continuing, we also authorize staff to monitor proposals to adjust UIL restrictions related to COVID-19 and proposals concerning to the use of district natatoriums and social distancing for swimmers related to COVID-19. I will continue. The Standing Committee on Athletics, well, I said we didn't deny it. Well, we took no action. Let's say that. It says denied, rejected, but instead we just took no action on these following things: a proposal to adjust track and field, wheelchair division guidelines, a proposal to add adaptive track and field events for ambulatory athletes, a proposal to have home field advantage. That got lots of dialogue and continues to, for district champions in all team sports, a proposal to add the shot clock to basketball, a proposal to alter the bonus rules in basketball, and a proposal to implement a charge circle in basketball, a proposal to reduce the hurdle spacing distances for middle school, a proposal to allow middle school athletes to compete at the high school if their middle school does not offer an activity, and a proposal to modify the 1204 notation on the wrestling fee schedule. Again, we just took no action on those, and then I will continue and complete my report, Mr. Chair. The Standing Committee on Athletics referred the following to the Football Rules Committee: a proposal to change the touchback rule in football, a proposal to prohibit pushing a ball carrier forward, a proposal to mandate heat timeouts for football, a proposal to alter the targeting penalty in football, and a proposal to alter the punt return, kick return in football. And I do see, Mr. Chair, where there may have been confusion because the next proposal is the one we've already acted on. I had it on mine to start with, but that does complete the report of the Athletic Committee.
Thank you, Dr. Poole. Do I have, I'll take that as a motion also to accept all those. Do I have a second for that report?
Benny Swallow, I'll second that.
Dr. Swallow at Houghton has a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Council members, please cast your vote.
Mr. Chair, this proposal is passed unanimously.
Thank you. Let the record show that the vote has passed unanimously. I appreciate it, Dr. Poole and Dr. Elza, to the committee and everybody at the UIL for all that work. We will now move to Aaron Hood and Dr. Jamie Harrison for policy proposals.
Thank you, Chairman Rhodes. My name is Aaron Hood, Superintendent at Robert Lee ISD and Chair of the Standing Committee on Policy. I would like to begin by thanking the Policy Committee members, Mark Henry, Joanne Bluda, Todd Morrison, Steve Flores, Walter Jackson, Keith Murphy, and Marty Crawford. Before I hand it over to Dr. Harrison, I would like to thank Dr. Harrison for helping me through my first Policy Committee meeting as the chair. I would also like to thank the staff involved with policy and making all the rules and regulations for schools in the state of Texas to follow. This particular year has been very difficult, and the time that the staff put in is not unrecognized. I truly appreciate it. They are truly appreciated, but not only the superintendents in the state of Texas, but by the coaches and the administrators that also are in each school district. I now turn it over to Dr. Harrison. And again, Dr. Harrison, thank you for the job that you've done for UIL for this year.
Sorry, my computer froze. Dr. Hood did a great job running the policy committee meeting in his first meeting as chair. So thanks to Dr. Hood for his leadership with the committee. I won't repeat what other UIL staff members and Dr. Braddock have said, other than to say how in awe I am of the UIL staff and their response since the COVID crisis began, and how much I appreciate Dr. Braddock and his leadership for guiding us through this very difficult time. We look forward to the day that we're back on the court and back on the field and back in the band halls and everywhere else that UIL activities take place. And I hope that you trust that we are working diligently, literally every single day to try to make that happen. And we hope to be able to have some news to report soon. Dr. Hood, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Harrison. On June 17, 2020, the Standing Committee on Policy met via teleconference session in accordance with the waiver to certain provisions of the Texas Open Meetings Act issued by Governor Abbott on March 16, 2020. The committee took the following actions during its business meeting. The Standing Committee on Policy authorized the staff to monitor the following proposals. a proposal to use grades 8 through 11 for enrollment number reporting, a proposal to amend the full-time day student rule. The Standing Committee on Policy denied, rejected, or took no action on the following proposals. Proposals to allow homeschool students to compete in sports, a proposal for an online universal pre-participation packet, a proposal to lift the Friday night broadcast rule, a proposal to allow live streaming of football games on Fridays, a proposal of a 2020-21 high school football schedule due to COVID-19, a proposal to allow students to repeat the 2019-2020 school year and receive an extra year of eligibility due to COVID-19, a proposal to reverse the suspension of spring activities due to COVID-19, a proposal to excuse athletic penalties due to COVID-19, a proposal to not allow gyms to open due to COVID-19, a proposal to amend the eligibility requirements for 7th and 8th graders due to COVID-19, a proposal to extend academic student eligibility by 1 year due to COVID-19, a proposal for a waiver of no pass, no play for students with disabilities. Mr. Chair, this concludes my report on the Standing Committee on Policy.
Thank you, Mr. Hood. Y'all also win the prize for the most number of times you said COVID-19.
That is correct.
All right, council members, I'll take Mr. Hood's recommendation. Do I have a second?
Derek Rice, please. I'll second.
I didn't catch that, Susan. Do you know? I'm not sure who that was.
It was made by Eric Wright.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wright. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Sure, go ahead, Dr. Poole.
It's always been such a delicate situation broadcasting on Fridays, and I know this is an unusual circumstance, but I didn't know if Charles could speak to the likelihood of that, or just, or Aaron, or anybody, or Jamie, on, what are the parameters of that, or that's something we'll be hearing more of?
Yes, Dr. Poole, I plan on speaking on that next.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Poole. Any other discussion? Okay, council members, please cast your vote.
Mr. Chairman, this proposal once again passed unanimously.
Thank you, Susan. Let the record show that the proposal has passed unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Hood and Dr. Harrison, for all the work that y'all put in getting to that. Dr. Bryant, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple things. First of all, we don't want to forget about the fact that this coming fall is the 100th anniversary of UIL football, which started in 1920. Cleburne and Houston Heights played to a 0-0 tie, and we will be spending some time gathering together the rest of our celebration plans and presenting those to you as we get closer to the school year. The other thing is that the 100th year of basketball, that tournament's 100th anniversary, sans the cancellation of last year's, will be celebrated in the spring of 2021. We have been working on a football initiative. We created a group of people that would help us in other states support the work that we've all been doing to support the game of football and the critics that are out there attacking the game. So we put together a coalition, and it's made great strides. We have made inroads with the NFL, who's supporting our work. And so we've had a little downtime now because the NFL is a little busy as well, but we hope to resurrect that in the coming days. In fact, we have a conference call later this week. So just don't want you to forget about those two important dates, the 100th anniversary of UIL football and the 100th anniversary of UIL basketball during the next school year. Our plan is to start on time with a full schedule, with full stands. That's our hope and our desire, and that's what we're working towards. Now, obviously, there's a lot of obstacles and hurdles to clear before we get there. On May 1st, you provided me the opportunity through a resolution to make some modifications to current rules in order to meet this COVID-19. One of the first ones that we did was the summer training and strength and conditioning training and rehearsals for marching band. We have already done that, small modifications, but we think they're important and have been met with a great response and positive remarks. We've increased the time for sports-specific training, plus the addition of Friday as part of the strength and conditioning period. Before that, it was only Monday through Thursday. Also, we've increased the amount of instructional time for marching band rehearsals. Also, we have looked ahead to the fall, training during the school year by allowing time for strength and conditioning outside the season to be conducted before or after school, allowing athletics period to focus on skill work. So that means that during your athletic period during the school day, you can work on your skill work, your teamwork, your team play. And then after school or before school, you can get your strength and conditioning periods in. We believe that's important because of all the time we lost in the spring, and most of the focus of our strength and conditioning, of course, obviously in July is going to be about football and volleyball, cross country, track and field, even though the other activities will have their chance during that time. We also have granted exceptions to the financial reporting requirements for the 1920 school year for the DEC in music regional executive committees. And we can give you more detail as we move a little closer to that. As far as our 2021 calendar and our seasons, we typically post our official calendar on June 1st. We're working to get a final calendar together, and that's probably going to be July 1st before it's officially put up on the website as our calendar for the 2021 school year. And we're also looking for modifications perhaps for academic eligibility requirements for the first 6 weeks of the school year as we approach the start of the school year. As you know, Senate Bill 1 in 1995 removed a lot of some of the things of the old no pass, no play. It also took some of the things away from us that we resurrected, which was the start of the year regulations. You had to have 5 courses passed the previous year, accumulation of numbers up to 15 to be eligible for the first 6 weeks. We haven't done away with that, but we're looking perhaps to be able to modify that for this year because some schools may not have been able to deliver what they needed to do for certain students. So we'll talk to you as we get a little closer to the opening of school. And the last one Dr. Poole brought up, we think is important. You know, I have always stood for protecting Friday night. It has been the passion of all of our schools to have community involvement on Friday night. It's not just about a football game. It's not just about marching at halftime. It is the drill team and the POM groups and the cheerleaders and the auxiliary groups that are selling things and working together to celebrate their school. Maybe it's the junior class selling barbecue or the Lions Club or the Kiwanis. Friday night's a special time. The Friday night lights element still exists in Texas, and we don't believe COVID-19 is going to do away with that. But I do believe this is a time for us to stand down on our Friday night broadcast rule, not permanently, just for a one-time venture, because we know this. There will be many people who stay away because they're fearful, particularly our elderly and our senior citizens. We want to give them a chance to see the game based on what the local district allows. The agreement between 2 schools to broadcast a game either digitally or on a linear product would exist for just this year. The UIL has no interest in getting involved in those conversations unless you need our assistance. We're not going to gain one thing from this. It just gives people a chance to see the game that wouldn't ordinarily come because of COVID-19. We're not clear yet on what the governor will allow on the 50% rule that's in place now. That's the latest we've heard from that. We'll wait and see what he says. But we believe this gives local districts the chance to go out there and negotiate something on their own or to do a student broadcast back to their local community. I have no notion to carry this forward after this year. This will end following this football season. It only applies to football because our other broadcasts are eligible for showing at any time, at any place, except for our state championship. So That comes out of, as an exception to Constitution and Contest Rules 868K. Just wanted you to be aware of that. Not trying to pull a fast one on you. I shared this with Dr. Poole a couple of weeks ago because I knew it was an athletic activity, but we put it through the policy committee. They passed it back to me, of course, because you did give me the authority to do this. I'm happy to take any discussion on any of these items. You've already passed the resolution, giving me the authority to do this, but I do want to hear your comments.
Comments, anyone?
Mr. Chair, as a person who's been on this council a long time, and as Dr. Bryant knows, I'm very defensive about Friday nights, and it's the biggest public relations event that all of our communities have during the year. But during these unprecedented times, I had told Dr. Bryant, I fully support this for 1 year. I hope it's just 1 year and we have a vaccine, or this is no longer an issue next year. But just whatever it's worth, I fully support the idea.
Yeah, let me echo that. I totally agree with Mark Henry in this regard. I'm glad it's 1 year, but I understand the reason for it. But again, with Mark, in our district, and I know most of you, it is still, and we're very proud that it is a social event, if not the social event, on a Friday night or a Thursday night, mostly Fridays. Band, drill team, little cheerleaders, I mean, you name it, churches that help sell concessions. And so those are the reasons that we've always been so careful, but I certainly don't think you're slipping one in no way whatsoever. And I agree with Mark. I think these times call for flexibility, but I'm encouraged to hear this is not a long-term plan.
Any other discussion?
I am also glad to see Mark Henry. I mean, he is in that group that's very suspect to COVID-19. So it's great to see that Mark Henry is still among the living.
And he got some new glasses.
I may be one of those people that watch it remotely for my own safety.
Goodness. Okay, Dr. Bryant, I'll turn the floor back over to you for budget proposal if we're at that point.
Yes, we are. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, the UIL Finance Committee chaired by Dr. Mark Henry, Superintendent Cypress Fairbanks ISD, met on March the 4th, I believe, 2020, and approved the budget for the 2021 school year for the UIL. Members of that Finance Committee were, again, Chairman Dr. Mark Henry, Dr. Greg Poole, Jim Waller, Dr. Thomas Randall, Joanne Bluda, Dr. Art Cavazos, and Curtis Rhodes, your current chair. In that committee, since that time, as you know, as COVID-19 has uprooted a lot of financial plans across the nation, our budget, of course, must be approved by the University of Texas. And since we are considered an auxiliary unit, they have not required that we amend our budget to meet the 5% reduction ask of all the other units in the university system. The university did ask us, ask all units for a 10% reduction at the beginning, but they modified that to a 5% in the last days. So they have not included us in that, even though we went ahead and prepared a 5% reduction if needed. This current budget that was approved in March includes a small increase to the membership fee assessed to each school. If you recall, we do this on an every other year basis. So we don't ask for a membership fee increase every single year. So this is a $12.8 million budget. It's about $300,000 more than what we had for 1920. So I just want to say thanks to Kim Carmichael and Amy Gilbert in our business department for their work on this. And I'll take any questions that you might have at this time. And Mr. Chair, we will need a motion in a second.
Correct. Since staff presented this, I will entertain a motion and a second. Do I have a motion
Mr. Chairman, since I was chairman of that committee, I'll make that motion to approve the budget.
Thank you, Dr. Henry. Got a motion by Dr. Henry. Do I have a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second. Richard Kilgore.
Okay, Richard Kilgore is who I heard. Is that correct, Susan?
Yes, sir.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Please register your vote.
Mr. Chair, this proposal passed as well.
Thank you, Mr. Hurdy. So let the record show that the motion is passed unanimously. And we'll move on. Dr. Braddock, you have additional information?
I do, Mr. Chair. Before we leave, I want to say thanks to you for dealing with this council meeting in very complicated times. So very proud of your work and for you listening to me and the many phone calls I made to you trying to get all this together over the last couple of months. So great job. I also want to say to the council, our plan is to have a full-fledged council meeting in October. And hopefully we can do that. If not, we'll give you plenty of notice and we'll do this in the same format again. Let's just hope that doesn't happen. I wanted to delay the recognition of our esteemed colleague, Jim Waller, until October so that we could recognize him in person. I don't feel good about doing a fist bump across the airwaves. Jim deserves better than that. After 12 years of serving on this council and serving as a chair and a great member of the athletic committee, I'd ask Greg Poole to say some words about him, but I'm going to ask him, let's just wait till October because Jim's agreed that he would come back and we'll do this in person. Is that okay with you, Dr. Poole?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Jim, enjoy your retirement. In the meantime, we'll see you again in October. And I turn it back to you, Chairman Rhodes.
Thank you, Dr. Braddock. And that concludes all the old business, new business. Is there any other new business any council person has? Hearing none. We're close to the end. You know, as things don't change or change in the future, you know, many of you don't know, but my dad was a superintendent from 1954 to 1984. And fortunately, I got to be a superintendent in about 99, 2000, while he was still alive for a couple of years. And he would share some stories that they dealt with back in the early years. And many of them have not changed. But fortunately, they didn't have to vote via computer because I remember him telling me one time, why do you have so many people in your office? And we kept all our money in a cigar box. And most people don't know what a cigar box is anymore. All the receipts and cash were kept in the top drawer in the cigar box, from Greenwood to Maybank to Llano. I traveled the country. Well, I wasn't born then, so until Llano. But that concludes. You don't want to hear my history. I want to say thank you to all the council members for giving up your time and participating in this. UIL is definitely a leader in the state, and we look forward to partnering with you and making this even more successful. And hearing no objection, hearing no objection, this meeting of the Legislative Council, the UIL, is now adjourned. Y'all have a great day. Enjoy the summer. And I look forward to y'all starting